Let me tell you about Adana. Simple girl, 23 years old, living in a small village called Amuna in the eastern part of Nigeria. The kind of village where everybody knows everybody's business, where gossip spreads faster than bushfire, and where nothing interesting ever happens. It was the height of Harmattan season. You know that time of year when the air is so dry, it cracks your lips when dust settles on everything, no matter how many times you sweep when the sun beats down like it has a personal vendetta against humanity. That kind of heat that makes you want to just lie down and do nothing until evening comes. Adana was fetching water from the stream that afternoon. The stream was far, about 30 minutes walk from her house, but that was life in the village. No running water, no taps, just you, your bucket, and your legs carrying you back and forth all day long. She had filled her bucket and balanced it on her head, ready to start the long walk home, when she saw him. An old man, very old, sitting under the iroko tree by the path, looking like he might collapse at any moment. His skin was ash gray from dust and dehydration. His lips were cracked and bleeding. His eyes were sunken deep into his skull. Most people would have walked past. In fact, 3 people had already passed him that day. Village people are not wicked, but they're also not stupid. You don't know who is who these days. That old man sitting under a tree could be a mad person, could be a thief waiting to rob you, could be one of those ritual people looking for victims. Better to mind your business and keep moving. Something about the way the old man was breathing shallow, labored, like each breath might be his last. It pulled at her heart. "Papa, are you okay?" she called out. Adana looked at her bucket of water. That water had taken her 30 minutes to fetch. If she gave him some, she would have less for her family. Her mother was already going to complain about her coming back late. "Ah, Jesus," Adana muttered to herself. Then she lifted the bucket off her head and walked over to the old man. She cupped her hand and poured water into it, then lifted it to the old man's lips. He drank greedily, desperately. She gave him more, and more, until he had drunk nearly a quarter of her bucket. When he finally stopped drinking, some color had returned to his face. His breathing was steadier. He looked at Adana with eyes that suddenly seemed much younger than his ancient face suggested. "Thank you," he said, his voice clearer now. "You have saved my life." "Just water," the old man repeated, and he smiled. But it was a strange smile. Like he knew something Adana didn't. "Do you know what day it is today, child?" The old man's smile grew wider. Adana's stomach tightened. Old people in the village were always talking about curses and spirits and all sorts of superstitious nonsense. But something about the way this man said it made her skin crawl. The old man nodded slowly. He struggled to his feet, and Adana helped him stand. "Go home, Adana Okafor." "Go home and wait." "What I've done?" "I just gave you water, Papa." But the old man was already walking away, moving much faster than someone who had been dying of thirst just moments ago. He disappeared into the bush, and Adana was left standing there, confused and suddenly very afraid. She picked up her bucket and hurried home, her mind racing. What did the old man mean? What curse? And why did he look at her like that, like she had done something significant instead of just sharing water? By the time she got home, she had convinced herself it was nothing. Just an old man talking nonsense. The heat did things to people's minds. The next morning, Adana's mother, Obiajeli, noticed something was wrong with her daughter. "You look like you've seen a ghost," her mother said, stirring the pot of yam porridge on the fire. Adana hesitated. "Mama, yesterday I met an old man by the stream." But then he said something strange. He talked about a curse. A 200-year curse. And he said it like... Her mother's hand froze mid-stir. The wooden spoon hung in the air, dripping porridge back into the pot. Her face had gone pale. "What old man?" her mother whispered. "Describe him." "Very old, Mama, white hair, thin like he hadn't eaten in days, eyes like they could see through you." Her mother set down the spoon carefully, like it might explode if she moved too fast. She sat down heavily on the wooden bench by the fire. "Adana, I need to tell you something. Something I should have told you before, but I thought, do you know why our family, the Okafors, we are the wealthiest in this village?" Adana shrugged. "Because Papa's father was a successful trader? That's what we tell people." "But the truth?" Her mother took a deep breath. The truth is much darker. Adana sat beside her mother, her heart pounding. 200 years ago, her mother began. There was an Okafor man named Igena. He was young, ambitious, and desperate to become wealthy. In those days, wealth meant respect, power, the ability to marry well, to take care of family. Ikena wanted all of that. One day, a stranger came to the village. A traveling merchant. He offered Ikena a deal. He said he could make the Okafor family the richest in the land for 10 generations. All Ikena had to do was refuse water to a dying man when that dying man asked for it. Adana felt cold despite the morning heat. What kind of deal is that? A cursed one. But Ikena didn't care. He thought, what are the chances? How often does a dying man ask for water? So he agreed. He shook the merchant's hand, and the deal was sealed. Immediately, Ikena's fortunes changed. His crops flourished. His trade succeeded. Money flowed to him like water. Within 5 years, the Okafors were the wealthiest family in Umuna. And they stayed wealthy generation after generation. Your father, your grandfather, all the way back to Ikena, all rich. Her mother nodded grimly. The catch was this. Every generation, one member of the Okafor family would be tested. A dying person would appear, asking for water. And if any Okafor gave that person water, the curse would be broken. The family would lose everything. All the wealth, all the success, everything would disappear overnight. No one. For 200 years, 10 generations of Okafors have been tested. And every single time they chose wealth over mercy. Your great-great-grandfather saw a pregnant woman begging for water on the road. He walked past her. She died. Your grandfather saw a child dying of thirst during a drought. Adana felt sick. That's evil, Mama. I know it is. But try to understand, by the time each generation learned about the curse, they were already rich, already comfortable. To give up everything, to condemn your children to poverty. It's not an easy choice. No, the curse tests one person per generation, always on December 15th, always in a way they don't expect until it's too late. I thought it would be your father. Or your Uncle Chaik. I never imagined it would be you. Adana stood up abruptly. If that old man was the test, then yes. You've broken it. Good. Adana was angry now. Good. This family has been wicked for 200 years. Adana, you don't understand what you've done. I understand perfectly, Mama. I did the right thing. Her mother stood too, her face twisted with worry. The right thing? Do you know what happens now? Not just to us, but to the entire village? This wealth has supported Umana for generations. Your father employs half the village. Your grandfather built the school, the borehole, the health center. Adana felt her righteous anger falter. She hadn't thought of that. And there's something else, her mother continued, her voice dropping to barely a whisper. Something the family elders whispered about but never said aloud. Breaking the curse doesn't just take away the wealth. It releases something. Something that's been bound for 200 years. Something that wants payment for all those years of suffering it witnessed. What do you mean? Releases something. But before her mother could answer, they heard screaming from outside. Adana and her mother rushed outside to find chaos in the village square. People were running, shouting, pointing at the sky. Dark clouds had gathered out of nowhere, rolling and churning like boiling water. But these weren't rain clouds. They were red. Deep, blood red, with streaks of black lightning flashing through them. And from those clouds, something was descending. What is that? Someone screamed. Adana's father, Obi Okafor, came running from their compound. He saw Adana and grabbed her shoulders roughly. Was it you? Did you give water to someone yesterday? Oh God. The red clouds were descending lower now. The temperature dropped suddenly, drastically. People could see their breath misting in the air despite it being midday in Harmattan season. An old woman in the crowd, Mama Ngozi, the village storyteller, began to wail. It's happening! The stories were true! The curse is broken! What stories? Adana shouted over the noise. Someone tell me what's happening. Mama Ngozi pushed through the crowd to Adana. Her eyes were wild with terror and something else, excitement. Vindication? 200 years ago, Mama Ngozi said, her voice carrying over the chaos. When Ikana Okafor made his devil's bargain, there was another part of the curse. A part the Okafors tried to hide, tried to erase from memory. But the old stories don't die. We storytellers keep them alive. The merchant who made the deal wasn't just a merchant. He was a spirit, a trickster, and he made two promises that day. 1. The Okafors would be wealthy for 10 generations. 2. If the curse was ever broken, all the suffering caused by the family's greed would be paid back. Every person who died of thirst while an Okafor had water. Every life lost because mercy was denied. All of it, paid back. Paid back how? The red clouds touched the ground at the edge of the village. Where they touched, plants withered instantly. Trees turned to ash. The earth itself seemed to crack and dry up as if all moisture was being sucked away. And from those clouds emerged figures, hundreds of them. Skeletal, twisted shapes that looked human but wrong. Their mouths open in eternal screams. Their eyes empty sockets. Their hands reaching, grasping. The dead, someone whispered. Those are the dead. Not just any dead, Mama Ngozi said. Those are all the people who died of thirst. The skeletal figures moved toward the village, slow but relentless. And as they moved, they moaned a single word over and over. The crowd turned on Adana. Adana's father tried to protect her, standing between his daughter and the angry mob. Stop! She's just a girl. She didn't know. She should have known. Pastor Amika, who ran the village church, pushed to the front of the crowd. The Okafor's wealth was our blessing. And she threw it away for an old man she didn't even know. My daughter showed compassion, Adana's mother said, appearing beside her husband. Something this family forgot how to do 200 years ago. Mama Ada, who ran the village school, laughed bitterly. Your compassion is going to kill us all. Look at those things. It was true. The skeletal figures had reached the first houses on the outskirts of the village. Roofs caved in, walls crumbled. Everything turned to dust, as if centuries of decay were happening in seconds. We need to run, someone shouted. Adana looked around wildly. The figures were indeed surrounding the village, emerging from the red clouds in every direction. There was no escape. There has to be a way to stop this, Adana said. She grabbed Mama Ngozi's arm. Mama, you know the old stories. How do we stop the reckoning? Stop it, Mama Ngozi laughed, a mad sound. Child, you can't stop it. This has been building for 2 centuries. All that unpaid debt, all that suffering, all that death, it has to be balanced. The spirits demand it. There has to be something. The old stories say only one thing can satisfy the reckoning. Give what? I'll give anything. Water, child. You must give them water. All of them. Adana looked at the hundreds of skeletal figures closing in on the village. But that's impossible. There are so many of them, and I'm just one person. I can't. Then we all die, Mama Ngozi said simply. The skeletal figures were in the village now, moving through the streets. Where they walked, everything died. Plants, animals, even the insects in the air fell dead the moment those creatures passed by. A child started crying, then another. Then everyone was panicking, trying to run, trying to hide, but there was nowhere to go. Adana watched the chaos, felt the weight of responsibility crushing down on her chest. This was her fault. Not because she had given water to an old man that was the right thing to do, but because her family had chosen cruelty for 200 years, and now it was time to pay. I'll do it, she said quietly. Then louder, I'll do it. I'll give them water. Adana, no! You don't understand what that means. It means I have to die, doesn't it? That's what give until there's nothing left to give means. I have to give them my life, my water, everything I am. Her mother was crying now. And you know what? You're my daughter. You raised me better than your mother raised you. Adana walked toward the center of the village, toward the old communal well. The skeletal figures followed her, drawn to her like moths to flame. Behind her, the villagers watched in stunned silence. When Adana reached the well, She looked down into its depths. The water was clear and cool, drawn from an underground spring that had served Imuna for generations. This well had never run dry, even in the worst droughts. The Okafers had paid for its construction with their cursed wealth. Adana turned to face the approaching skeletal figures. They had stopped walking now, forming a circle around her. Hundreds of them. Maybe thousands. All the people who had died of thirst while an Okafer watched. All the souls who had begged for mercy and received none. "I'm sorry," Adana said, her voice carrying clearly in the eerie silence. "I'm sorry for what my family did. I'm sorry you suffered." The skeletal figures didn't respond. They just stood there, waiting. Adana drew a bucket of water from the well. "I'm Adana Okafer, 10th generation descendant of Ikena Okafer." She walked to the nearest skeletal figure and held out the bucket. The creature reached toward it with hands that were more bone than flesh. The water began to glow. Soft blue light, like moonlight on the river. Skin-covered bones. Eyes appeared in empty sockets. The figure transformed from a nightmare back into a person. A young woman, maybe 20 years old, wearing old-fashioned clothes from another century. "Thank you," the woman whispered. Her voice was like wind through leaves. "Thank you for seeing me." Then she faded away. Not dying, just moving on. Crossing to wherever the dead were supposed to go. Had to give water, had to acknowledge each death, had to make each soul whole before they could rest. She drew another bucket, then another, and another. The sun moved across the sky, though the red clouds never fully parted. A sweat poured down her face despite the cold emanating from the skeletal figures. With each bucket, another soul was restored, acknowledged and released. Young and old, men and women, children and elders. All the forgotten dead. The villagers watched in awe. Some began to help, drawing water and handing buckets to Adana. Her mother, her father, even Pastor Emeka, who had called her stupid, they all joined in. But Adana had to be the one to give the water. As night fell, Adana was working on pure willpower. Her hands were bleeding from rope burns. "How many more?" 53, the old woman said softly. "Only 53 left." Adana drew another bucket. Her vision was blurring now. She could barely see the skeletal figure in front of her. She gave the water. Another soul restored and released. 51. "Can't stop," she mumbled. "Have to finish." Adana could feel her life draining away with each bucket. The curse was taking payment. Her water for their water. Her life for their deaths. Adana collapsed completely. She couldn't stand anymore. Couldn't even lift the bucket. But she had to finish. Had to. With the last of her strength, she dragged herself to the well, drew one more bucket, and poured it into the outstretched hands of the final skeletal figure. A child. Couldn't have been more than 6 years old. A little boy with wide eyes and a shy smile. "Thank you, sister," he said. "Now we can all rest." The red clouds dissipated. The cold vanished, replaced by the familiar heat of Harmattan. The village was saved. Her family surrounded her, crying, begging her to hold on. "It's too late," Mama Ngozi said quietly. The curse took its payment. She gave everything, just like the old stories said she would have to. "No," Adana's father said. "No, I won't accept this. My daughter saved us all. She can't die." "Fair?" A voice spoke from behind the crowd. Everyone turned. It was the old man from the stream. But he looked different now. His clothes were clean, his skin glowing with health. And his eyes, those strange eyes, they weren't human eyes at all. "You want to talk about fair, Obi Okafor?" The old man said, walking forward. "Was it fair when your grandfather had water and watched a child die? Was it fair when your great-great-grandfather passed a pregnant woman begging for help? Where was your concern for fairness then? Who are you?" Adana's father demanded. The old man smiled. "I am the one who made the original deal with the Kana Okafor 200 years ago. I am the one who watched 10 generations choose greed over mercy. And I am the one who gave you all a chance to break the curse, over and over again, and you all failed. Until this one." He looked down at Adana. "Until she chose differently. So you're going to let her die? After she saved everyone?" The spirit, for that's what he clearly was, knelt beside Adana. That choice belongs to her. He touched Adana's forehead, and suddenly she could see clearly again. Could think clearly again. Adana Okafor, the spirit said gently. You have paid the debt your family owed. You have freed hundreds of souls from suffering. You have broken a curse that has poisoned your bloodline for 2 centuries. The debt is cleared. Then I can rest? Adana whispered. You can. You have earned your peace. You can cross over now, and no one would say you didn't deserve it. But, the spirit smiled. But, what condition? You must carry the memory. Every soul you saved tonight, you will remember. Their faces, their names, their deaths, all of it will live in your mind forever. You will bear witness to the suffering your family caused. You will carry that weight for the rest of your life. That sounds like another curse, Adana's mother said. Or it sounds like responsibility. The spirit replied. Someone needs to remember. Someone needs to make sure this never happens again. Not in this family, not in any family. The thought of just letting go, it was tempting. She had done enough. She had paid enough, but she thought of her future nieces and nephews who hadn't been born yet. She thought of all the generations that would come after her. Someone needed to teach them. Someone needed to make sure they knew the full story, not the sanitized version. Someone needed to be the keeper of this dark history so it could never be repeated. I'll stay, Adana said. I'll carry the memory. I'll be the witness. The spirit nodded, like he had known all along what she would choose. So be it. He placed both hands on Adana's head, and light poured from his palms. Warm golden light that filled her with strength. Her wounds healed. Her exhaustion vanished. She could breathe again, stand again, live again. But in her mind, she could see them now. All of them. Every soul she had saved. Their faces, their stories, their final moments of suffering. The child who died in his mother's arms. The pregnant woman who collapsed on the road. The old farmer who begged for just one drop of water and received none. All of them living in her memory forever. The spirit smiled. You are stronger than 10 generations of your family combined, Adana Okafor. Use that strength well. Then he vanished, leaving behind only the smell of rain, though no rain had fallen. The next morning, the village woke to find that everything had changed. The Okafor family compound, which had been the grandest in the village, the big house with the iron gates, the generator, the satellite dish was gone. In its place stood a small, modest compound. Just a simple house with a corrugated iron roof and unpainted walls. All the Okafor wealth had vanished overnight. The bank accounts were empty. The business holdings were dissolved. The cars, the jewelry, the expensive furniture, all of it gone, like it had never existed. But the things the Okafors had built for the village remained. The school still stood. The borehole still worked. The health center still had its equipment and medicine. The cursed wealth was gone, but the good that had been done with it remained. Obi Okafor stood in front of his new small house and laughed. Actually laughed. 200 years of wealth, he said to his wife. Gone in one night. And you know what? I feel lighter than I have in my entire life. Obi Ajeli hugged her husband. We'll be okay. We'll work, we'll rebuild, but this time it will be ours. Really ours. Not bought with suffering. Adana watched her parents from the doorway. She could see them, really see them, for the first time. The relief in their eyes. The weight lifted from their shoulders. They had been carrying this curse their whole lives, even if they hadn't wanted to admit it. Now they were free. The villagers came throughout the day to thank Adana. Some apologized for turning on her, for blaming her, for calling her stupid and reckless. You saved us, Pastor Emeka said, his head bowed in shame. And I called you foolish. I'm sorry. It's okay, Adana said. You were scared. We all were, but not everyone was grateful. Uncle Chaik, Adana's father's brother, came in the afternoon. He was furious. You stupid girl, he shouted. Do you know what you've taken from us? What we could have had. We were rich. We were powerful. And you threw it all away for what? For some rotting corpses who were already dead. Those rotting corpses were people, Adana said quietly. They were someone's children, someone's parents, someone's siblings. They deserved mercy. They deserved nothing. They were weak. That's why they died. Adana's father grabbed his brother by the collar. Get out of my house. Now, your house? You mean your shack? This pathetic little... I said get out. Obi shoved his brother toward the door. We don't think like that anymore. The curse is broken. The Okafers are done being cruel. Uncle Chaik left, still cursing, still angry. He moved to another village a week later, unable to accept the loss of wealth, unable to be around family that had betrayed him. But he was the only one who felt that way. The rest of the family adapted surprisingly well to their new poverty. Adana's father started a small farming business. Her mother began selling food in the market. They worked hard, but they worked honestly. And slowly, very slowly, they built a new life. Not a wealthy life, but a good one. 5 years passed. Adana was 28 now. She had never married, though several men had proposed. She told people she was too busy, but the truth was different. The truth was she carried the memories. Every day, she saw the faces of those she had saved, heard their stories in her dreams, felt their suffering like it was her own. It was a heavy burden, but it was also a sacred one. Adana became a teacher at the village school. And every year, on December 15th, she gathered the children and told them a story. Not a happy story. Not a fun story, but a true one. She told them about Ekena Okafor and his cursed deal. About 10 generations of cruelty and greed. About the people who died begging for mercy. About the reckoning and the payment. She showed them the old well where she had drawn water for the dead. This is our history, she would tell the children. This is what happens when we choose wealth over compassion. When we turn away from suffering because helping might cost us something. The children would listen, wide-eyed and silent. But you also need to know the other part of the story. Adana would continue. That one act of kindness can break a curse. That choosing to help, even when it's hard, even when people tell you not to, even when it costs you everything, that choice matters. That choice can change history. Some of the children didn't understand. They were too young, too innocent. But some did. Adana could see it in their eyes, the understanding. The weight of the lesson settling on their shoulders. Those were the children who would grow up to be different. To be better. Mama Ngozi, now 93 years old and still sharp as a knife, would sit in the back during these storytelling sessions. After the children left, she would approach Adana. You're doing good work, the old woman would say. Keeping the memory alive. Making sure we don't forget. I couldn't forget even if I wanted to, Adana would reply, tapping her head. They're all here. All the time. Is it very hard, carrying them? Sometimes. Late at night, when I can't sleep, when their voices are loud, yes, it's hard. But then I remember what would have happened if I hadn't given that old man water. The whole village would be dead. My family would be dead. Everything would be ash and dust. So you have no regrets? Adana thought about that. I have one regret. I regret that it took so long. That 9 generations of Okafers before me all failed the test. I regret all the suffering that could have been prevented if just one of them had chosen mercy. But my own choice? No, I don't regret that at all. 10 years after the breaking of the curse, something happened. Adana was walking from the school to her small home when she saw him again. The old man. The spirit. Sitting under the same Iroko tree where she had first met him. She wasn't afraid this time. She walked up to him calmly. You've come back, she said. I have. He gestured to the ground beside him. Sit with me, Adana Okafor. Let's talk. She sat. I've been watching you, the spirit said. For 10 years, I've watched you carry the burden I gave you. Teaching the children. Keeping the memory alive. Making sure your family's dark history is never forgotten. That was the deal. It was. But I think it's time to tell you something you don't know. Something about that day 10 years ago. Adana looked at him curiously. What don't I know? The curse had already been breaking, the spirit said. For 3 generations it had been weakening. Your grandmother, she secretly donated food to the poor, even though the curse demanded hoarding. Your mother taught you to be kind when she herself was taught to be cruel. Your father, for all his faults, never once refused water to a thirsty person, even though his own father had done exactly that. But the curse was still active. It was still making us rich. Yes, because the original debt still hadn't been paid. But the curse was dying. And when I appeared to you that day as a dying old man, I already knew what you would do. How could you know? Because you were raised by people who were trying to break free, even if they didn't realize it. Because kindness was in your bones, put there by a mother who hated what her family had become. I didn't come to test you, Adana. I came to set you free. Tears welled up in Adana's eyes. You mean, I didn't break the curse alone? My mother, my grandmother, they were fighting it too. Every generation, someone tried. Someone pushed back against the cruelty. But they were afraid, or they were silenced, or they compromised. You were just the first one brave enough to go all the way. To say, I don't care about the wealth. I care about doing right. The spirit stood up. Which brings me to why I'm here. I came to release you from the burden of memory. What? And someone will. You've taught a whole generation of children. You've written down the stories. You've made sure the history will live on. But you, Adana, you deserve to rest. You deserve to live without carrying the weight of hundreds of dead souls in your mind. I don't want to forget them. They trusted me. They spoke to me. They showed me their suffering. The spirit smiled gently. They don't need you to remember them anymore. They're at peace. They crossed over. They're free. He reached out and touched her forehead, just like he had 10 years ago. I'm not taking away the memory completely, he said softly. I'm just lessening the weight. You'll remember the important parts, the lessons, the history. But you won't hear their voices every night. You won't see their faces every time you close your eyes. You'll be able to sleep again, Adana. You'll be able to live without pain. Warmth flowed through her. And as it did, Adana felt something lifting. The constant pressure in her head, the endless whisper of voices, the weight that had pressed down on her for a decade, it eased. Not gone, but bearable. Thank you, she whispered. No, the spirit said. Thank you. Thank you for showing mercy when your family had forgotten how. Thank you for choosing righteousness over riches. Thank you for being the one who was brave enough to break the cycle. He started to fade, to become transparent like mist in sunlight. Wait, Adana called. I never asked your name. The spirit smiled one last time. I am the spirit of balanced scales. I make deals that test the soul. I watch and wait and see what choices people make when everything is on the line. Some call me Iquinsu. Some call me the trickster. But you, Adana, you can call me guardian. Because that's what I do. I guard the line between mercy and cruelty, between justice and revenge. Then he was gone. 20 years after the breaking of the curse, Yumana village had become famous. Not for wealth or power, but for something else. The story of the curse that lasted 200 years. The story of how sometimes the hardest thing and the right thing are the same thing. Adana was 43 now. She had eventually married a kind man named Chikuma, who was a teacher like her. They had 3 children, and Adana made sure each one knew the family history, not to shame them, but to teach them. We come from a line of people who made terrible choices, she would tell them. But we also come from a line that eventually made the right choice. Both of those things are true. Both of those things matter. Her eldest daughter, who she had named Amara after the spirit who had blessed them, asked her once, Mama, if you could go back, would you still give that old man water? Knowing what it would cost? She thought about the wealth they lost, the comfortable life that vanished, the years of struggle that followed. But then she thought about Uncle Chaik, bitter and alone in his anger. She thought about the old Okafor family, rich but cursed, carrying the weight of unpaid debts and unacknowledged suffering. She thought about the hundreds of souls she had freed, the village she had saved, the lesson she had taught. And she thought about who she would have become if she had walked past that dying old man. If she had chosen greed over mercy, just like 9 generations of Okafors before her. Yes, Adana said finally. I would do it again. Every single time. The village of Umuna never became wealthy again. The Okafor family worked hard but stayed humble. They farmed, they taught, they lived simple, honest lives. The village became known as the place where kindness mattered more than wealth, where people would give you water even if they had little to spare, where strangers were welcomed and travelers were helped. People started moving to Umana just to be part of that community. Businesses came, not seeking cheap labor, but wanting to be in a place that valued integrity. The village grew, not from cursed wealth, but from genuine goodness. And at the center of it all was the old well. The well where Adana had drawn water for the dead. Someone had built a small shelter over it and placed a plaque on the wall. The plaque read, "Here, a curse was broken through mercy. Give them water, give them kindness, give them grace." Adana would pass that well every day on her way to school. And every time she would pause and remember. Not just the night of the reckoning, but the choice. That simple, profound choice to help someone who needed help. If you ever find yourself in Umana village, do one thing for me. Go to the well in the center of town, draw some water, and share it with someone. It doesn't matter if they're a stranger. It doesn't matter if you're in a hurry. It doesn't matter if you have better things to do. Share it, because you never know when your simple act of kindness might break a curse you didn't know existed. You never know when your mercy might free souls that have been trapped for generations. You never know when you might be the one person brave enough to choose right over easy, compassion over convenience, humanity over wealth. Adana Okafor was just a simple village girl who gave an old man water on a hot afternoon. And she changed everything. So remember her story. Remember her choice. And the next time someone asks you for water, for help, for mercy, don't hesitate. Don't calculate the cost. Don't worry about what you might lose. Just give. Give like Adana gave. Give like your compassion might break a 200-year curse. Because maybe, just maybe it will. That's the story. The story of the girl who gave water to a stranger and broke a curse that should never have existed in the first place. May we all be so brave. May we all choose mercy. May we all remember that sometimes, the smallest act of kindness can echo through centuries. Give water. Break curses. Change the world. It's that simple. And that profound.